Okay, this is Amy Lujan with Juneau Guests in a Rotary, and it's September 10th. And today we're pleased to welcome two guests from the city and borough of Juneau. First, we'd like to introduce Beth McEwen, who's our city clerk, to give us an update on the city elections coming up and the process for doing that this year. Beth, can you go ahead and unmute yourself and let us know what we need to know?
Thank you, Amy, and thank you all for having me. I am Zooming from home. Normally you are seeing me from the city clerk's office, and my apologies if, please interrupt me if my internet connection is not great. I will turn off my video if it does that weird wonky thing that Zoom tends to do when internet is not the best. But thank you again to the Rotary Club for having me here this morning and asking about the election coming up for the local municipal election. Oftentimes, especially during state and national election years, our local election tends to get overshadowed and overlooked. And so we hope that people are paying attention and are understanding how the differences are between the state and the city elections. And this year is very different than we usually run lockstep with what the state does. But this year, as we were looking at COVID back in April, May, we decided we needed to decide what to do with an election during COVID. At that time, the state hadn't yet made its decision. We talked about it, looked at all the different options, and I gave the information to the assembly, and the assembly decided it wanted to do a by-mail election. So for this year's local election, it is October 6th, and we will actually have every registered Juneau voter receive in their permanent mailing address that's on file with the State Division of Elections, their ballot in the mail. The ballot will come with a ballot, instruction sheet, a secrecy sleeve, and a return envelope. The envelope that is going to the voter with all of that information is uniquely coded to each particular voter with a unique barcode. The return envelope also has that unique barcode on it. So that ballot package is only eligible for that unique voter. We will be mailing those on September 15th, and our printer and ballot producer is in Kent, Washington, and so it may take 3 to 5 days for the ballots to actually reach the Juneau mailboxes after the 15th. So if by the end of that 5-day period you haven't received your ballot in the mail, please give us a call at our election call center, and that number is 364-7041. We will have vote centers open for in-person voting. If you do choose to go ahead and vote in person, we will have 2 vote centers open. One will be at City Hall, and that will be open Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. We do ask that you bring the ballot that you received in the mail to the vote center. Unless you didn't get a ballot in the mail for some reason, then we will issue a replacement ballot for you. The Mendenhall Library will also be a vote center, and that will be open Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then also on Saturdays from noon to 4. One of the key pieces that we currently have in our code and is that on the return ballot envelope, you need to have that ballot envelope witness that you as the voter signed your signature saying that this is the only way I'm voting in this election, and you have to have it witnessed by another individual. That witness signs that return envelope as well. If you are home alone, don't have an opportunity to have a witness, you can have it witnessed at the vote center, or you can call that election call center hotline, and we're going to have some on-call staff that can come and do house calls essentially. So we can, in addition to the witness signature, Once you do get the witness signature and you voted your ballot, if you want to socially distance and you don't want to rely on the postal mail to return your ballot, you can return it at one of the 2 drop boxes that we will have located in Juneau. We will have one located at the Ock Bay Statter Harbor boat launch area, and that is the big new parking lot area, and you can just drive up and drop your ballot in that ballot box. The other location will be at the Douglas Library Fire Hall Community Building. And those are both outdoors, so you don't have to go inside to any place. You can place your ballot in the drop box, and those ballots will be collected daily. One of the key differences with this election that's different than any of our past elections, as well as different than the state's election, we are partnering with the municipality of Anchorage to actually use their 10,000 square foot warehouse election center. And they have all of the equipment, multi-million dollars worth of equipment, to be able to sort those ballots, read those unique barcodes. We'll be doing signature verification process. And all of that is going to take some time after election day to make sure that one ballot, one voter is counted. And so as a result of that, our results for the preliminary initial unofficial results will not be available on election night. The first unofficial results will be available starting on Friday, the 9th of October. And then we will have, because we're verifying every single voter's signature on those envelopes, we will have a time frame between October 9th and the 20th when we go to certify the election to do what's called a signature cure process. So if somebody's signature was missing, if they forgot to sign their return envelope, we don't want to toss that ballot out just because it didn't have a signature. So we're going to contact that voter within 3 days of that envelope being reviewed and say, hey, we need a signature to actually be able to count this ballot. Or if the signature doesn't match the signatures on file with the State Division of Elections, same thing will happen. So in a nutshell, we'll be starting on the 15th of September and ending on the 20th of October. It has stretched out our entire election period longer on both sides than we would normally be doing our elections, but due to the municipality of Anchorage giving their generous offer to partner with us on this, we're able to deliver a safe and secure election and keep our voters and our election workers safe and healthy. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you, Beth. That's very comprehensive. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question. Beth, are you going to do any campaign ahead of time to remind people to make sure their address is correct? I can think of, well, actually family members that may have moved over the last year, and the last one you think about is changing your address with the State Department of Elections. Are you going to have any campaign to kind of remind people that this is the way that it's going to happen for this election and that you need to make sure your address is updated?
So great question. And actually we undertook that back in July. We sent out postcards to every single voter on the registers that were on the registered at their address that they were registered at as of June 24th. So every voter should have received a postcard in the mail saying, this is the address we have on file for you. So if you didn't get a postcard, what I would suggest is 2 things. We have, right now we're past the deadline to update your address on the permanent voter list that we will receive from the state. September 6th was the deadline to update that for our list. However, that doesn't mean you're out. And you'll still be able to have a ballot. We have what's called a temporary address application, so that if you did not receive one of those postcards, or if you want to receive your ballot at an alternative address, say you're going to be traveling and you're going to your mother's house like Amy, and you want to have your ballot mailed to that location, you would fill out that temporary address application. And rather than your ballot being sent to your house, if it's yesterday was the cutoff to get those in, but we will do what's called a replacement ballot because the printer already has the list of the folks that are getting the temporary and the first run of ballots. We will be doing up until September 29th. If you get that application in by September 29th, we can get you a replacement ballot to that new alternative address. But I would say it's not too late to update your voter registration address for the November election. So go to the State Division of Election website, check and see what address you're actually registered to vote at. And if it needs to be changed, go online and change that.
Okay, thank
Beth,
you.
this is Doug Eklund. How much more has this cost from the previous elections? This seems pretty complicated, and I'm sure there's a cost to this. What is that?
It is a very substantial cost, actually, Doug. Thank you for that question. Normally, in the past, our elections have run approximately $36,000 for regular elections. 2020 was going to be a year where we were going to have extensive election increases because of changes to the State Division of Elections voting equipment that they were decommissioning, and we are going to be actually purchasing some new election equipment for next year in 2021 election. So this year, I believe the estimated cost that we had come in at $136,000. So over $100,000 more for this type of election than previous elections. And if we were to do this on a permanent basis, it would be just like Anchorage. We would be looking at $1 million plus in order to ramp up the facility and the equipment and that sort of thing. So it is a much more expensive type of election.
I have a couple questions.
Is that Annette?
Yes, yes.
Good morning, Annette.
So I have two questions, actually. One is what date do the voting centers open? And the second one is what address are you using to mail out the ballots? I have no mail that's delivered to my physical address. There isn't even a box here. So mail comes to my post office box, and I know I have not received a card.
So the first answer is September 21st is when the vote centers open. And the second question on the address, it's the permanent address that you have on file with the State Division of Elections, whatever that would be for your mailing address. The state has two addresses. One is your residence to determine which precinct you're in, and then the other is your mailing address. So those ballots are being mailed to the mailing address on file with the State Division of Elections.
So I have a question. How many registered voters are there in Juneau?
I'm still getting that final number from the State Division of Elections, but we have over 27,000.
Hey, Beth, this is Robert Bench. How do you verify the signatures? I mean, my signature, I was looking at my Social Security card, which I got about 100 years ago, and it's considerably different now than it was then. So how do you verify the signature is actually that person?
Sure, thank you, Robert. We actually have the municipality of Anchorage has signature software that they have special computers that's pretty much the only thing that those computers are doing, but it's showing the signature, and then there's a human that's been trained to do signature recognition. And in fact, the municipality of Anchorage is going to be training some of us CBJ election workers also on that same signature recognition training. And the signatures that are the most recent signatures on file with the State Division of Elections, plus we took almost 10,000 Juneau voter signatures from our past election materials, precinct registers, scan those, and those are going to be also available in that signature recognition software program. And those were from the last 3 years. So it'll be the most recent signatures that you have on file, either with the State Division of Elections or that you may have voted at one of your Juneau elections in the last couple of years.
Great.
So it still depends on the judgment of a person about whether or not those signatures match.
That's correct. Ultimately, it does come down to the human judgment. And having gone through a lot of the signatures to see, they actually have some very close. I mean, most signatures are very close. There are going to be times when there is a signature that has a question. That's what we're talking about with the signature cure process. So that if there is a question, we're encouraging people to return their ballots as soon as possible, so that if there is a question, we can do that signature cure process, send out the letter within 3 days saying we're having issues identifying this as your signature, and can you please provide a copy of your ID as well as your signature.
Okay.
Great. Okay, well, thank you again, Beth. I can see that you're really thinking this through, and if people have additional questions, I think it's easy to find the contact information to get in touch with you and your helpful staff there. So thank you very much. And I'd like to move us on.
And sorry, Amy, can I just make one more point? The problem with the sending the notifications to people about the address ahead of time, if they've moved and there's no more forwarding on their address, they're not going to get that card that you sent. And so I guess that's my concern. I've just had it with like DMV and that sort of thing, when you move and then you don't get the reminder that your tag's expired because your address isn't updated. And so anyway, that's just a little part of the process. If we have to do this again, you know, that somehow that little piece, they're not going to get that postcard if their address has changed, is the point. So anyway, that's it. Okay.
And I would follow up with that and just say, we've done some media outreach as well as, you know, PSAs and that sort of thing. We're going to continue to do that, but we also hope that you as the citizens can help spread the word for us. So if you know of anyone, if you receive someone else's mail in your mailbox, put return to sender, not a so that we can try and make sure that those get updated.
Yeah, maybe let realtors know and property managers know. Yeah, that would be great. Okay, thanks. I'm off my soapbox. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, everyone, and I won't take up any more of your time. Do give us a call at the Election Vote Center if anyone has any questions.
Great. Okay, well now I'd like to turn it over to Meryl Jensen. I know that many of us have worked at the Arboretum over the years and have a great connection to that place. I've got a picture in my background today of the Arboretum earlier this year. So Meryl, we're sad that you're going to be retiring this year, but we'd love to hear your recap of what's been going on at the Arboretum.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me. As you might guess, this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. So I've got a little PowerPoint presentation, so we're going to have to do a screen share here.
I think you should be able to do that. If not.
Right down. Okay, yeah, I got it. Yep. Okay, let's see how quick this will come up. Okay, can you see that?
Not yet.
Okay. Slow connection. I'm at the end of a very long straw.
Well, hopefully it'll come up.
Okay, looking here to make sure that, try this again, relaunch it.
So who is the host of the meeting? Is it Lori or is it Amy? They have to screen, they have to allow your screen.
Okay, Amy, did you allow my screen?
Yeah, it should be.
Okay, I'll relaunch this and Oh yeah, post disabled participants.
No, it should disabled participants.
Oh yeah, disabled participant screen share. So yeah, you need to enable me.
Okay. Who can share? Okay, now it should be good now. Try it now.
Okay, we
You'll have to
got
forgive. You'll have to forgive Amy. She has her mother looking over her shoulder.
any.
And her mother knows nothing about this.
Okay, we got anything going downstream?
No, it says all participants can share on my end.
Well, another possibility is that I could just mirror it like this. I don't know why Oh, so it just came through. So go ahead and do that now.
Yay, there it's coming.
Okay, there we go.
Something
Yeah,
came through.
something hung up, so. Come on. Okay.
Looks good now.
Okay, great. Yay. Technology finally worked. Okay, great. Yes, like I was saying, one of my favorite topics, the Jensen Olson Arboretum, as you might imagine. So here's a little overview of what I'm going to go through today. Horticulture and plant collections or partnerships, administration, education and outreach, completed and future projects, and a special thank you for all of you folks, and then a little Q&A time. So the horticulture and plant collections, that's, I've had a continued commitment to high standards of horticulture and public garden excellence. One of the things that I've been proud of is in all my travels with the American Public Gardens Association, I will put the Arboretum up against any of our other institutions that are out there as far as our level of horticultural care and standards. It's always fun to see what other people are doing, and then I come back and I look at our place and it's just like, hey, we're right in there with the big dogs, even despite limited staffing and limited budget. Curating the national collection is always a high point for me. I'm a certified plant geek, and being able to do plant collections at a high level is just a thrill. One thing that has bubbled up in the last couple of years is changing weather patterns. You might remember last year's summer of summers where it was just beautiful and warm. A lot of our Sino-Himalayan plants weren't real thrilled with that. And our winters have been a little different also, with lack of winter snow cover early on. Last year we had a lot of plants that were thinking of growing in early December, and then the bottom fell out. So that has compromised some of our plants. So it's going to be an ongoing challenge to meet climactic challenges with the plant collection. Partnerships, local, national, and international. You can see the list here. Lots of different things. Seal Trust, they are the folks that hold our conservation easement. So it's always a nice group to work with to ensure that we have seamless transitions. They are losing their executive director this year, about the same time I'm going to be retiring. So the new folks will get to forge new partnerships. International ones, the Scottish Rock Garden Club is where I get a lot of my really fun plant seeds. So it's that international collaboration, and I do send seed from here to Scotland to be distributed around Europe. The American Public Gardens Association is our major trade group. There's over 650 member gardens, and I think it's 9,500 members. So it's a good organization to network with. There's no need to reinvent the wheel when there's a lot of other folks out there that are doing the same thing. Administration. One of the highlights this year is one of my gardener positions. That's a picture of Carly. we were able to turn her position into a half-time benefited seasonal position. That's a big boon. Trying to find good people that are reliable and hard workers when it's just a seasonal position is always a challenge, but being able to turn that into a benefited position and adding another month and a half worth of time to it is going to help with retention of good folks. Parks and Rec is working on a commercial use policy. That kind of got derailed this summer due to COVID, but that will come back up and will get worked on for next year. It won't have a big effect on us other than commercial photography out here. But yeah, Parks and Rec is working on that. And then yes, December is rolling around and looking forward to sitting on the hillsides, looking out across the vast vistas. Unfortunately, that won't be my vast vista unless I come back up for vacations, which I plan on doing. We're heading back down to Oregon, and the Cascades will be beckoning. This year, we rolled over to over 100,000 visitors, which is really kind of a nice milestone to look at. It kind of snuck up on us when I was counting visitors here last week for some statistics that PNR was looking for. It's just like, wow, 100,000, woohoo! So that's kind of fun. Education and outreach, that's the direction that everything is really geared towards now. Children's programs are well established, and that's our new demographic that has happened in the last 4 years. There's a whole lot of 30-somethings with kids that are starting to come out. When we first opened, it was the older crew that was coming out, but now it's families that are coming out, and those are the ones that are going to be driving programs into the future. We've also started doing adult education programs. We started that last year, and unfortunately we had to cancel those programs this year, but they're still in the hopper for next year. We're working on a visitor map and a field guide right now. That's right in development. If you can see the middle picture, that's a drone that was the UAS GIS class came out, and they flew the property to get high resolution imagery that we're building our map off of. We hope to have that wrapped up in the next 10 days, 2 weeks, and then it'll go off to the printer, and those will be available later this year. And then they will be on our information kiosk next summer for sure. Recently completed projects. A whole lot of stuff has been happening in the last year. I look back on it and go, no wonder I feel tired some days. We've got a new visitor entry panel that was constructed with staff and Parks and Rec staff. It's a Forest Service design that we borrowed and modified a little bit. We've got a new flagstone path. We did a renovation of one of the beds that was in the vegetable garden. It was one of Caroline Jensen's original plantings, and it was just a little tired, and it just needed an extra boost. So we brought in 8 yards of soil and redid that. The gardener's shed, we did a renovation of the interior of that, and in that process, we were able to redo the plantings around the shed. Yes, lots of stuff has been happening. It's just been going on and on and on. Just a lot of infrastructure projects to make the place a lot more desirable to come to. Future projects, continued grant proposal submissions to support education. That's going to be our big push, like I said, in the future, is more education programs. We've got some interpretive signs that are in development for some features that are around the garden. And the Friends of Jensen Olson Arboretum, they're going to be doing an enhanced online presence. We've got a new web designer, and she's going to help get things up more informative and more interactive. So a special thank you to you folks that have come out and done so much for us. I look around and there's not a spot out here that doesn't have fingerprints of your wonderful group. You can see the glass house there, and it going in and what it's turned into, and the vegetable garden. That original fence was just ugly is probably too nice of a word for it, but the new fence that's around it just really enhances everything out here. And yeah, our the Chilkat View Shelter, a lot of hard work went into that. It's a beautiful structure, and it's one of my favorite places to sit. And then all the wheelbarrow loads of gravel and soil that you guys have put your backs into, it's really appreciated. And yeah, I know we wouldn't be where we're at today without them, all of your assistance. So, questions, comments?
Meryl?
Yes.
I was out there yesterday. It was great
Yep.
to see you. It's
Yep, good to see you.
beautiful, the changes that you've made during your tenure, and just wanted to say you're going to be sorely missed.
Thank you. Yeah, it was good seeing you yesterday too. It's always nice to see familiar faces when you pop in out here.
Yeah, Meryl, this is Rosemary Hagovic, and I'd just like to add my thanks to Annette. I think you've done a marvelous job, and having known Caroline Jensen for years, and actually she was instrumental in inspiring me to be interested in gardening.
Oh, nice.
You have definitely fulfilled her vision, so thank you very much for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, and that's one of my big regrets, is that I never had a chance to sit down and talk with Caroline, but everybody that has known her and has seen what we've done out here, they've all confirmed that, yeah, this is what she would have liked to have seen. And I hope she's looking down and smiling.
I'm sure she is. Thank you.
Meryl,
Any other questions?
This is Amy. I add my thanks to Meryl. I will definitely miss seeing you out there. I love visiting the Arboretum. And can you remind me how many varieties of primrose you have? I just thought that was incredibly impressive last time I saw that.
At its peak, the collection was about 215 species and cultivars. The weather has done a number on them, and we're down to about 180. Caroline had just shy of 30 species and cultivars. She was more into cultivars than she was species, but like I said, I'm a compulsive plant collector, and I had just a lot of fun tracking down new cultivar species to put into the collection, and I hope the next person is equally as passionate. Some of the plants that I really liked were the ones that suffered the most last year in the heat, and they just didn't show back up this year. So it's the next person will get the opportunity to go hunting for seed again.
Wow. Okay, well, hopefully they find that right next person.
Yes. Yeah, it was the job was just posted last week, so it'll be interesting to see who shows up.
Great.
So
All right. Go ahead, Rosemary.
Just one more question. Do you still participate in the Primrose Society Seed Exchange?
Yes, I do. It's and matter of fact, I'm in the process of cleaning seed to ship back to the seed exchange person. We're low this year on seed. As you might guess, it wasn't the best year for plant setting seed. Some of the species, there's a new insect that I haven't been able to catch in the act that has burrowed into some of the seed capsules, and they just decimate the seed. And then some things just didn't set seed this year. The pollinators weren't out during the rain, so yeah, it's going to be a short year, unfortunately.
All right, Meryl, thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk with you.
Yeah, we took a ride out there a couple weeks ago, and I'm sure you've had over 100,000 visitors, because I'm pretty sure I've never been counted, and I've been out there quite a few times. So yeah, it's a great milestone for you guys, and it's a beautiful place. So I'd like to thank you, and have a great retirement. Also, Beth, I'd like to thank you for coming and talking to us about voting. That's one thing that our country